Okay, guys, so this is chapter 3 from the Data Privacy, Security, and Ethics class slide prepared by Professor Dr. Joanna Nerves. Um, so this slide basically talks about informed consent, the data protection impact assessment, and the confidentiality and anonymity. Okay, confidential data and anonymous data. Okay, so we start off by saying what is consent. Okay, to give your consent. When we say someone gave consent, basically they have authorized, um, uh, they've given the authorization to certain to an individual or a controller to perform certain things. Okay, so it's understood as informed authorization given by the data subject prior to submission to a certain medical act. Okay, any act integrated into provision of health care, participation in research or clinical trial. Okay, you have to give your informed consent. Okay, this authorization presupposes an explanation, which means there should be an explanation of what, um, an understanding of what is this, and then you give your consent. Okay, intended to be done, and how to act and why, and the expected results of the intervention. Okay. In principles, a living individual should not be subject of a research project without being informed. Okay, that's the informed consent basically. Now, lecturer presented us with an example of what we call the Milgram experiment. Okay, so I think Stanley Milgram was a psychologist at Yale, and carried out a famous study of obedience in psychology. Basically, wanted to uh, examine the acts of genocide that was perpetuated by the by those accused at World War II. Okay, and tried as war criminals. Okay, their defense was that it was obedience. Okay, it was obedience. So he wanted to ask this question: could it be that Eichmann and his millions accomplices in the Holocaust were just following orders? How could we call them accomplices? So he devised an experiment. Okay, so in the experiment, um, you can see from this picture here, he had a fake test subject and the main subject. Okay, these are school administrators. Okay, and the experiment. Okay, so basically, the subjects, they they are asked to press one of the buttons. They are informed. They are. I'm assuming they believe that the next person that is connected to this device will feel some sort of pain, and whenever they press the button, the fake subject makes a noise as if they're in pain. Okay. Now the job of the experimenter was just tell them, please continue, and they would do it, and when they went stopped, they will be told the experiment requires you to continue, and they will continue. Okay. And if they hesitate, it will tell them it is absolutely essential that you continue, and then finally they will be told you have no other choice but to continue. So it is believed that most of the participants for his experiment were explained by newspaper. Most of Milgram selected participants for his experiment by newspaper, okay, advertisement for male participants and to take part in the study, okay, and 65%, two-thirds of the participants, the teachers, continues to the highest level of 450 volts, okay, which is very high, okay, and all other participants continue to 300 volts. So you could see, but what was wrong here? What was wrong in this? What are the ethical issues? So, Vom Reed basically criticized the ethics of Milgram's research as participants were prevented from giving their informed consent to take part in the study. Okay, and participants assumed the experiment was benign and expected to be treated with dignity. But in this case, it was they were just asked to just press the button, and the fake subject was acting as if they were receiving those balls as well. So the participants were exposed to extremely stressful situations. You can imagine that they have the potential to cause psychological harm. Many of the participants were visibly stressed, and signs of tensions included trembling, sweating, and stuttering. Okay, and biting their lips. Okay, so the three participants had uncontrolled seizures as a result of this. And as I said, three participants had uncontrolled seizures, and many even begged for the experiment to be stopped. But yeah, the experimenter gave four verbal probes, prods, which mostly discouraged withdrawal from the experiment. Okay, so those are some ethical issues when it comes to concern.